No,
I'm on Coach Chris's team. I could be part of his Coach Chrising.
that is not
Chris.
yours.
I'm just
going on
impressed
record
that
to say it's not
his
yours.
book is twice as thick as yours.
Well, I think that shows you how much smarter he was than mine. It's actually not even twice.
He had
It's like
something
3
to
times.
say. It's 3 times. Yeah, he did.
Yeah. So we have to get to how do we get to the book, to the consulting.
Is
We actually get
that
to
your
meet-
chair, by the way?
By
Or
the way,
did
yeah.
you?
Welcome to a 3-part series on Coach Chris Consulting and the Red
Yeah.
Chair Experience.
Well, it's coming down. There's no way this gets done in 35, 40 minutes. Yeah, we're coming back episode 2. So welcome to the Small Business Safari, where I help guide you to avoid those traps, pitfalls, and dangers that lurk when navigating the wild world of small business ownership. I'll share those gold nuggets of information and invite guests to help accelerate your ascent up that mountaintop of success. It's a jungle out there, and I want to help you traverse through the levels of owning your own business that can get you bogged down and distract you from achieving your own personal and professional goals. So strap in, adventure team, and let's take a ride through the safari and get you to the mountaintop.
Hey everybody, it's Chris, and welcome to the Small Business Safari. We're about to cheers in a second while we talk with Coach Chris. We had such a good time with him that we broke this up into 2 episodes. The first episode will be focusing on his background, his story, and as he built himself into the coach he is today through the home services world. He talked a lot about his book, and we hit a little bit of that book in this section. And then we ended with the company culture and where we're at. So take a listen.
Cheers. Let's introduce our guest.
Cheers.
Cheers.
We've got Coach Chris in with us.
What are you hydrating, Chris?
Absolutely. I know better.
He's off camera, so he has water. But Alan and I have beer.
And a bottle of scotch and a bottle of bourbon in front of us too.
So strap in, everybody. This is going to be a great episode. I met Chris through a mutual friend of ours and had a chance to talk with him, have him come over. And guess what he is, Alan?
A published successful author.
He's a published successful author. And here we are talking to him. He's on his way to being a best-selling author. He created the Red Chair Experience book, which we'll get into a little bit later. But he has a great background. And I was going to introduce him, but I want him just to give us the highlights of what he's done. And I was born here. I went there. I went to college here. I did this in college because that's really cool, by the way. And then I took off and went on this crazy road called home services. And that was not fun. Or was it fun? We'll let Chris tell us. Chris, welcome to the Safari Podcast.
I'm glad you can't see me. I'm laughing my head off, and I still want to know, what do I do with this plug? Anyway,
Yeah, we'll answer that after a couple more drinks.
couple more drinks.
Yeah,
I'll tell you where to stick it.
But
Yep.
Hey.
Whoa,
wow,
whoa.
It's a family show.
Not really. We're
No,
explicit.
Not anymore. Gosh, where do we start? Well, I was born outside of Chicago, Illinois, in a little town called Evanston. Most people know it because that's where the University of Northwestern University is. Anyway, I was born out there, grew up outside of Chicago in the west suburbs, a place called St. Charles, Illinois.
I know St. Charles. I'm jumping in. You continue with your story.
Because of Pheasant Run.
No, I know
Oh.
it because I worked for a company called Accenture. And actually, one of my buddies is watching me on Facebook Live. And I'm calling you out and on because, whoa, that was crazy. But here we are.
Yes.
St. Charles, Illinois was our training facility for
Arthur Anderson.
Yeah.
Yep. Arthur Anderson was,
So-
so
you grew up there.
Yes, I grew up right down the street from that, actually. So really, there was a lot of things. There was a resort kind of place right down the street called Pheasant Run. That's where most people know about it.
Okay.
Arthur Anderson's the other one. But so I grew up there, went to the University of Illinois. I think the cool thing he's talking about is I walked on and played football at the University of Illinois.
Come on, big boy.
What years?
Okay, I'm going to date myself. 84 through 89 is when I played. So Mike White was the head coach. Jack Trudeau was our quarterback. Actually, some of you would probably know he was a former quarterback here. He was the sheriff, was his nickname.
Uh-oh. Man, I'm dying on that one too.
That wasn't Jeff George, was it?
Jeff George.
Yeah.
Yes,
Oh.
Jeff George.
Great pull, Ellen.
Yeah.
That's it. Come on. I'm
Big
bringing-
arm, little head. Isn't that kind of, I shouldn't have
Can you
said
say
that,
that?
Jeff.
Oh,
Yeah.
guess who just made us explicit?
There we
Wasn't
go.
me this time.
There we
All
go.
right.
So I got to play with the likes of Jeff George, Jack Trudeau, Thomas Rooks, Craig Swoop, and Chris Green. I mean, a number of guys that went on to play professional ball. Me, not so much. Anyway, so I walked on there, had a great time, graduated there, moved to St. Louis, spent 12 years there, 13 years there, moved to Atlanta in just before 9/11, and moved to Memphis for a few years. I was in the home services industry. I worked in HVAC, started in '04 and got an opportunity to lead a company in Memphis, Tennessee. So I moved over to Memphis and enjoyed that for a time. Then I moved back here in 2012 and have been here ever since. So I've been in and around the heating and air industry, plumbing, electrical as well. And about a year and a half ago, I started my own company, and it is the CM Consulting. I do sales and business management. I get to help small to really small HVAC and plumbing, electrical companies really understand how to turn around their sales and their business and that kind of stuff. And so we'll dive deeper into where the red chair came from, the book.
We'll get to that.
Yeah.
I think the most burning question I've got right now is, what's your favorite barbecue? You've been in Memphis, you've been in St. Louis, and you're here in Atlanta. That's what everybody really wants.
Chris,
to know.
that's not on the official Chris bio
Right.
list of questions you're
So,
allowed to ask.
Here we
Right.
go.
I had the
Here
official
we
list
go.
I was supposed to ask. And what did I do? I went right
Oh
off the
my
freaking
gosh.
rails. All right, come on. What is it?
There's not a question on there that you've asked me yet.
We're going to do our best to navigate around them.
We're not asking any one of these questions. Sorry, Chris. Nice job. Yeah, so much for a one pager. Hey, thanks, Harry, for bringing that up.
Hey, Harry, that was great advice, buddy. Next time you want an interviewer to never ask a question that he really wants to answer, put that down for me. So again, back to the barbecue.
Back to the barbecue.
This is
question.
huge. This is way
Well,
important.
What's really funny is I am mostly plant-based and gluten-free. So I haven't had barbecue in a while. However, when I did have barbecue, when I was in Memphis, there was actually a place called the Commissary, and it's in Germantown, and amazing barbecue. They did a really good job. Little hole in the wall, awesome banana pudding that they made as well. So that was kind of the top place that I went to there. In terms of barbecue, I used to make my own. I've got a it's not the green egg, it's the other one.
Kamado.
Thank you. I have the Kamado.
Is that how you say it? Not tomato. It's not Komodo Joe. It's Kamado Joe.
Kamado Joe.
Huh, how about that? There we go. We learned something else.
Tomato.
Did Chris tell you he makes a vegetarian Sunday gravy?
Really?
Me? This Chris?
Do you listen to your own
I
podcast?
do make a vegetarian. I know, but I thought you were talking about him. I'm like, no, really? I was going to let me get your recipe because I have one.
I want to hear about this.
I
This
have
is
been.
awesome.
I have tried plant-based whole food diet.
You said it. This one may as well be vegetarian because it only has veal and sausage in it, and not the
Right.
big knuckles.
It doesn't have
I,
everything.
I didn't have pig knuckles. That's right, because I grew up and still I've actually gone back to eating meat. So
Hate that for you.
I tried it for a while. I thought it was doing good, and it's definitely great for your blood pressure. It's great for your body. It's great for longevity. But you know what? I don't know if I want
It's
to live
not
that
for
long
you.
anyway.
Yeah, it's not for you.
Did you say gluten free too?
Yes.
So that's no beer.
Most times, yes, that is correct. That's partly why I brought you the beers because I'm
Cheers to the
great
beer.
beer, by the way. It's made by
Which is
bare
why he
hands.
looks way better than we do.
No,
He
that-
does.
that's-
Actually, I think he's. Don't you guys? I mean, come on. I said, Alan, this is your doppelganger.
You know, I have to say, when I saw his first photo on the website, I'm like, oh my God, that does look like me. And then I looked at other ones. I'm like, no, he looks better than me too. Everybody look. Why do you always get guests that look better than me?
I do.
I guess somebody has to be at the bottom of the bell curve, and that's me.
Right. We're always doing that. And then why can't we be like Smartless? I mean, all three of those dudes have a full head of hair
Full
and
head
are
of
all
hair.
really good looking guys. Well, come on, that's not fair. So I got to keep bringing on guys who may be hair challenged.
We could call it hairless.
We could Smartless. We could be
we
hairless.
could be hairless. There you go. You guys are onto something now.
All right. So we digressed a little bit.
A lot.
Okay, a ton. So we found out that your favorite barbecue is your own. That's a
Well,
little self-centered.
No, thanks for bringing that up, Chris. No, I told you the Commissary was the best place to go.
All right, commissary.
Yes, Commissary in Germantown, Tennessee. It's just outside of Collierville, right outside of Memphis. It's a beautiful town.
What
All right.
position did you play at Illinois?
My position was tight end, but I lettered at special teams when I was on punt return, kickoff return.
So did you actually play tight end though? I mean, did you catch a touchdown from Jeff George?
No, actually, the only touchdown I scored in college was in the spring game, and it was a tight end reverse.
Oh, wow.
Hey, you had to have wheels to do that, buddy.
I apparently pulled it off. So yeah, I got tackled in the end zone, and I think it was Mike Heaven who nailed me in the end zone. But
My sister,
no holding grudges.
No,
at all.
yeah.
Right.
Mike, I love
that
that.
name,
calling you out, yeah.
name came up pretty quick. My sister-in-law played volleyball at Illinois.
And when did she play?
So it was a couple years after you.
Okay.
She, until recently, had the Big Ten record for blocks.
Yes.
Yeah,
What's
at
her
the-
name?
Kelly, it was Kelly Habiason at the time.
No, I didn't know her.
Yes.
I knew a lot of the ladies on the volleyball team. I mean, we would hang out.
Now you're bragging.
Yeah.
Well, it's that in the
Yeah, I would. Good. I'd
Well,
go
he's
with
a
it.
football player.
Hey, baby.
Nah,
Their volleyball program's unbelievable and really well attended. A lot of fun to go
Yes.
to. And that weekend that we went there, I'll tell you a quick story. Illinois was hosting Minnesota for football, and so my father-in-law said, "Hey, do you want to go to a game?" I'm like, "I love college football. Let's go."
absolutely.
It was freezing, so we had to go to the Army surplus store, and we're getting all these extra jackets and stuff, and we're sitting out there, and snow's falling. Illinois is just laying an egg that day, and they're down 3 scores with 5 minutes to go. And I look at my father-in-law. I never leave games early, but all the Illinois fans are gone. I'm like,
Right.
I don't really have a dog in this fight. I mean, and we're freezing. What do you think? And he's like, yeah. And we get up, and we aren't even out of the stadium. The cannon go off. There's
There's a touchdown.
There's a touchdown. And I'm like, all right, well, there's still 2 scores down with less than 5 minutes to go. We just leave the stadium. Cannons go off again. And we're walking down the road. It was a long road. And there's a frozen custard place down. Yeah.
Yep.
And just off in the distance, boom, boom, boom.
No way.
Missed the biggest comeback in Illinois history. I will never, I don't care what game I'm at. It could be Little League. I'm not leaving until the game is
That game
dead
is
over.
over.
That'll
Yeah.
learn you.
Yeah.
Ha.
Well, Chris and I have made it pretty clear that most of our lessons that we've learned in life the hard way.
So,
I
and I
understand.
usually have to learn it like 25, 30 times. And then I finally figure out not to do it again. So, all right. So back to Chris, Alan.
which one?
If it's all right. Back to Coach Chris.
Oh,
He calls it CM Consulting, and I was going to give him some branding advice offline, but what the hell? I think let's go,
bring it
Coach
up in front
Chris.
of everybody. Let's
Everybody. I love Coach Chris. Number one, I love the name,
just- of course.
but Coach Chris rings for me. CM Consulting. I like Coach Chris.
I agree. And that's my DBA.
Love it.
That is my DBA.
All right.
So, yeah. Coach Chris Consulting is the DBA that I use. It's my web address, all that good stuff.
All right. So you take off out of college. You take and
he's
not showing it off, but see,
he's
Coach Chris
highlighting the
Consulting.
crest
I
on
love the
his
crest. Bring
logoed
it on there.
apparel. Oh,
Bring
look
it
at
on
this. We have layers of logoed apparel.
Layers.
Oh my God! Not only does he have, he has a pullover. Well, how about some merch, baby? How about some merch?
I give him a book. I give him a book. I give him some scotch. I mean, what else? What more do you want? I gave him a.
You know what would be really
I
cool
could
because
be on
that
Coach
logo
Chris's
is
team.
over this logo. If you had a tattoo right there, the same logo, and you could just keep peeling.
No,
I'm on Coach Chris's team. I could be part of his Coach Chrising.
that is not
Chris.
yours.
I'm just
going on
impressed
record
that
to say it's not
his
yours.
book is twice as thick as yours.
Well, I think that shows you how much smarter he was than mine. It's actually not even twice.
He had
It's like
something
3
to say.
times.
It's 3 times. Yeah, he did.
So we have to get to how do we get to the book, to the consulting?
Is
We
that
actually
is
get to
that your
meet-
chair, by the way?
By
Or
the way,
did
yeah.
you?
Welcome to a 3-part series on Coach Chris Consulting and the Red
Yeah.
Chair Experience.
Oh, it's coming down. There's no way this gets done in 35, 40 minutes. Yeah, we're coming back episode 2. So I'd love to go back to how we got into home services, but I guess we need to jump into
Because you
what the hell's
asked
up
me.
with this.
You asked me.
Oh, did I ask
yeah,
that?
you did.
We never answered it though.
You pointed that direction. Did I like home service?
Let me see if that was one of
It's
the
not on
questions.
list. It is not.
Whoops.
On the list.
Hey,
So
how-
not-
how am I
what was
gonna-
his name again?
How am I going to differentiate
told you
between the
previous
2
questions.
Chris's here?
His name is Harry. Harry.
Hey, Harry, you blew it again, buddy.
How do I? When I say Chris, and then you both look at me, what am I supposed to do?
I would say,
I'm going
uh,
to say
Look at the
Coach
one you-
Chris.
Look at the one you want to talk to.
how about
about
Coach
that?
Chris? Yeah. How about you lead everything with Coach Chris,
Coach Chris. I like that.
and I'll just be.
Let's just be like
Plain
I
old
got this.
Chris, whatever. Chris.
Well, I was thinking like King.
King
I
Chris.
can't use King.
Oh God,
Jester. What?
I can't even remember. What do I do with this plug?
Oh, all right. Let's get into this red chair. So you wrote the book, but it's called the Red Chair Experience, Daily Inspiration for Success in Life and Business. Where the hell did this red chair come from?
That's my red chair.
It's a darn good looking chair too.
That actually is my red chair. And the sober answer to that, and sober in the sense that it's a very sobering story, is actually it's the second entry in there. But it is, the red chair was my stepfather's. And much like his generation, he grew up in a time where when you came home from work, when it was time to, come into the living room and sit down, you had your chair. My grandfather had a red velvet chair. He just happened to have a red leather chair. By the way, that is a recliner.
Oh, nice.
Yes,
all right.
it
I'm
does
liking it
recline.
more now.
Yes. So he had this chair. He was my business mentor. He and I had a lot of similarities. He spent a lot of time in sales management and all. He also played football. He played at Alabama, and that was his downfall. So
Not everybody can play for Illinois. I know.
he played for Bear Bryant.
That's pretty cool. I was going to say,
yeah,
honestly, if he was there when Bear Bryant was there, he learned a lot of life lessons.
That's back when you didn't get water breaks in Alabama.
correct.
Oh, yeah.
Correct. Well, and here's a nice little piece of trivia for you. What was the last game that Bear Bryant ever coached?
Don't know.
The Liberty Bowl. And who did he play against?
Still don't know.
University of Illinois.
Really? How'd you
Yes.
do?
I did not play that game. That
How-
was
well, I meant
1982.
you. I meant you.
That was 1982. And I believe that, I don't know. I'm going to lie by telling you something.
Oh,
I don't remember.
Hey, it's too bad we don't have this
You could
Think
probably,
called Google?
ability to look things up.
you could
All right.
go Google it.
so we'll lose Alan for just 5 minutes while he looks this up, so we can all have
So back
this
to the-
trivia.
Back
So
to the red chair.
back to the
Sorry.
red chair.
So when he passed away in the spring of 16, my mom took the chair when she moved away from the house that they owned, and she held on to it. My younger brother needed a chair because he had hip issues growing up playing sports and the like. And he had a chair, but that chair was falling apart, and a brown leather recliner, easy for me to say. And he needed a chair. He needed a replacement. So I brought the chair over to him. I went up to my mom's, picked it up, brought it over to him, and he had the chair for a while. And then we lost him in September of 19. And my sister-in-law, my nephew and niece said, we just can't have it in the house. It was too much of a reminder of him and my stepdad, Bill. And they asked me if I would take it. And I said, absolutely.
Wow, brother, what a deep connection on not only life, but yourself and doing all those things. I know we've been lighthearted up until this point, but that's deep. That's
Yeah.
good stuff right there. I mean, you're getting into what they say with the fiber. This is the real good stuff.
Yeah. And it gives me chills. I mean, still to talk about it, because it does have a lot of meaning. If you look carefully at the cover, you'll see the character of the chair. You can actually see the dips, and they didn't Photoshop too much of it out, but they did clean it up a little bit. But that is the chair, and it's an incredibly comfortable chair. And so it sits in my ensuite. And so that was September of 19. I brought it back probably October of 19. And so it's been sitting in my room, and then the pandemic hits. And so I get a meme from a buddy of mine in May of 20 that says, if you're not improving yourself, working on your side hustle, doing something, it's not that you didn't have time, you wasted it. And I thought, phew, I got.
I hate people like that.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Thank you, Mike Dixon.
Yeah,
We'll call him out too.
Well,
Mike
what an
Dixon.
appropriate last name that was.
Yeah, Mike. Hey,
Dick.
Mike's
way
a
to
great
make
guy.
way to make me think about myself and get better.
Right.
Damn you, Mike.
Thanks for doing that, Mike. No, Mike is a wonderful guy, and he inspired me. He really did. He just gave me the nudge to. I always thought about writing a book, but much like you and I don't have this wonderful background story, and I'm not ready for a tell-all, and nobody wants to read it anyways. This was the next best thing. But I was reading books like this that were inspirational and motivational, and on a daily basis, I was just getting a little snippet, a little 3 or 5 minute read, and something that just I could hold on to and look forward to. And that's what the inspiration was for the book.
That's so powerful what you're talking about, because number one, it's such a deep emotional connection you had, and that's what brought out. And a lot of times writers will say that inspiration is what really gets them going. These are really deep writers, which of one I'm not, but
I did realize you were referring to other writers.
I was,
Yeah.
because I'm in the community now. So anyway,
Like
back
you
to
are
the-
an author.
but I am an author, Alan. But back to that deep connection. And when you write with purpose and you write with that, I think that also translates over into where you came from in business. And we've talked a little bit about that with salespeople. What's the first thing I tell my guys to be is you got to be authentic. I'm going to give you the sales lines. I'm going to give you the sales process. But if you don't make them your own, it's going to sound like you're trying to be some cheesy salesman or you're going to be some robot trying to read something. You got to be authentic.
Right.
What was your experience as you went through it? Was that the way you were training people as well?
So I was trained much like what you're talking about, right? Hey, you have to learn this. You have to learn this. What they didn't tell me was the second part. They didn't tell me you have to put your own spin on it. You have to put your own seasoning. I like to cook. And so I liken it to doing just that, to cooking. I'm going to check out a recipe and go, oh, that's a great vegan recipe that you've got there.
That's an oxymoron.
Right?
There's no great vegan recipes.
No.
Thank you, Alan.
Nice. But I'm pumped. But seriously, folks.
No, I'm dead
Be here
serious.
all
Go
week.
ahead. Let's imagine there were a
Yes.
great vegan recipe.
All right.
There are some really good ones. Anyway, that aside, it's like taking a recipe that you picked up on, and it may be a barbecue. It may be a barbecue sauce or something like that. And you say, I want more spice. I want more pepper. I want more cayenne. I want more, right, salt. I want more something in it. And you put your twist on it. That was never really taught to me. And so what I did with people, what I'm doing with people that I coach and train is I do exactly that. I say, learn the process, understand the process, understand the steps that it takes to get from point A to point Z. When you do that, then you can put your own flavor on it. Then you can put your own seasoning into it. Then you can put your own flair, your personality. You can bring yourself to the table. But until you learn the process, please don't. Learn it, learn the process, and then put your seasoning into it.
Exactly. I mean, you got to do it. You got to understand where you're coming from, and you got to listen to people who have come before you and most likely know it better than you, or you wouldn't be in that company.
Correct.
There's a strong parallel in the art world.
Please do tell.
You've got our attention.
So I'm assuming that you're the kinds of people that when you go to an art opening,
You're assuming we go to art openings, but go ahead.
I don't even know what that is. Is that when the Amazon
you see
package shows
big
up at my door?
You see the big canvas with the paint splashed on the wall, and it's $100,000, and you're thinking, I could do that. A monkey could do that, right? So when you think of Picasso, what do you think of? Similar, kind of a weird sort of abstract artist.
Yep.
He was a very classically trained artist. I mean, he could render realistically like you couldn't imagine. And yet, so he had those basics down, and then he went from there. Whereas today, people just start with throwing paint against the wall, and I find that ridiculous. So there's a little high culture for you.
No, and you bring up a really good point, Alan, that we live in a microwave world. We are in such an instant world now that people want the results without doing the work.
That's
And
what I
so
meant.
We immediately jump into this.
Coach Chris just got right to what I was hoping I thought of.
No, you did a great job of explaining it in your own words.
As my mother used to say, that's a good start, Alan.
Good job. Do I get a ribbon?
Wow.
By the way,
trophies all around.
the results of the 1982 Liberty Bowl are in.
And
I'm going to give you a
35
point
minutes.
spread. Alabama's
All right.
favored by 7. Did they cover or not?
they did.
I'm going to say they did.
They won by 6, 21-15.
Oh my God. 21-15.
Did I do my math right?
Yeah, you did good.
Yeah.
And that's a
impressive.
low scoring game back.
That is.
Well, it's back, 82.
82. Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Back to
Back to deep talk.
Coach Chris is smarter than me.
And
Go ahead.
we're back.
Yeah.
No,
Microwave world. Let's pick up on that
So
topic
I-
and that thought.
Yeah.
process.
Tell me what I was thinking, Chris, when
No,
I said
love
that.
No, I love what you brought up because it really was. It's just thank you for laughing at that, Alan and Chris. King Chris.
King.
But no, you bring up a really good point because I see too many younger people, and I'm not going to say this generation or that generation. We see a lot of younger people that they get frustrated because we live in an instant world. To your point, I can pick out my phone and I can find out what happened in the 1982 Liberty Bowl. I can find out what happened in the 1984 Rose Bowl. I can find out what happened in the, insert name here, right? I can find out what, I looked this up last night, what the different generations are from the 1900s all the way through 2022, right? What are the different generations? How big are they? How many, people are they? What are their ages and all that? We live in such an instant world that we get so used to the ability to have instant answers. instant results. And so we think that we can skip the process. We think that we can just jump from, hi, my name's Chris. Do you want to buy something? And we can't figure out why people don't want to buy from us, right? We get this look on our face like, oh my gosh, why aren't they buying? I did what I was supposed to. I asked them for the business.
Right. You did everything you're supposed to, and it was supposed to happen in 1 minute. And how come it didn't happen? Because I know on the other side, we all have the same problem or issue today. How about this? We have the same thing that all of us seasoned people have to do. Seasoned, that doesn't mean we're all old, but we grew up in a time when we didn't have this instant gratification, and we didn't have this. I mean, I didn't have a microwave until I was 7 years old. And that sounds like a hardship, right?
When you had your first glass of wine too.
Yeah. It all happened that year.
That was a big year for you.
You know what? Honestly,
You turned 7.
I had wine before I had the microwave. That's true too, by the way.
Kind of like an Italian bar mitzvah. You turn into a man when you're 7.
7. I asked my dad, I said, I thought they called it bathtub Jim. He goes, no, that was homemade wine. I'm like, it went down and I thought it was going to burn my insides out. And they all looked around. I'm blowing my eyes out of my head and dying. They're all like, hey, look, Samito, he loves it. He loves the wine. So back to instant gratification, the world we're in today, because that was instant gratification. They all laughed pretty hard watching me go down. But I think that's the same thing. You know, we keep saying the same thing, and I'm going to go back because I'm going to use my dad. That's the reason I brought this up. Let's face it. Our parents thought we were lazy and wanted everything for nothing. We thought that about our kids, and now we're thinking about that about some of our employees.
Because they are.
Well, Alan, you're being old and a little crotchety.
Well, it used to be way better back in my day.
Attaboy.
Of course.
Because you worked for it.
That's right.
You worked a lot harder than your dad did.
Absolutely.
I'm going to go ask him that. I'm pretty sure I got an answer on that one, buddy.
He's still alive. He could still hurt me.
Yeah.
You found a place to put that.
There you go. You can plug
Make
that in.
that phone call.
But you got to realize, number one, that's the world we're in. So you can either embrace it or you can be a crotchety old man who wants to go in the corner and complain about everybody, Alan. And he's giving me the side eye right
I'm
now.
going to shake my cane at you right now.
Right. I would have got away with it too if it wasn't for you meddling kids. But that's what's going on. And so when you go to train these people, you're like, you got to follow the process. And they go, okay, so what is it? 10 steps. And they go, 1, 10. Wait, whoa. You missed 2 through 9 there, big guy. What happened? I asked for the order.
Okay, 1, 3, 5, 7.
Exactly.
I'm getting better. Yeah, you're getting better. Don't forget now 2 and 4 and 6.
So how do you get people to understand that process, but then make it authentic? Is there a certain past personality trait you're looking for? Is there some secret sauce when you're looking for these guys? Because I think that's a question a lot of us have is, I have a process and I bring people in and I say, but you know what? You got to be you.
Correct. And the biggest thing is finding the right people. You have to find people that fit your culture, right? And Simon Sinek has said this, and others have said these words, that you find people that fit your culture and you can train them. Because somebody who fits your culture is somebody who wants to learn, somebody who's eager to get better, to improve, to do those things. I can tell. I've been around this office 2 or 3 times now.
That's coming later. Back to why do my people love me? For a lot of reasons. But one of them is perhaps I'm a hummingbird, as I've been called before by Alan. And Chris showed up a week early for our podcast interview. And they're all like, hey, Chris is here. And he goes, yeah, I have gifts. I'm like, for what? For the interview you scheduled. Right.
How long did it take you to get here for that?
It was just an hour.
Oh,
in 20 minutes.
No. It was an hour 20 back.
Yeah, it's an hour 20 back. I know.
It was rush hour.
So I'm glad you brought up culture. I'm big on culture, and I noticed that on your website. So you talk about process a lot, but you also talk about culture. Yes. And the more I think about culture and study culture, we think that when we say the word culture, we're all thinking the same thing, but we're not. There's a lot of different cultures out there. Absolutely. As a matter of fact, okay, so when I was in business, I had kind of a nurturing culture and a teaching culture, but the Navy SEALs have cream rises to the top and you ring the bell and you're out kind of a culture. Both of them are great cultures for their environment. So are you identifying the culture when you go in to coach a business? Are you helping them create a culture? And is it process first, then culture, or culture first, then process? So that's a
16-part question.
No, it was just 8.
I feel like Rodney Dangerfield in Back to School.
I have one question with 32 parts.
That's right. So the initial question, yes.
I don't remember what I asked on that first
Exactly.
one. Yeah.
So you were asking about the different cultures and realizing when you walk into a place, you have to figure that out, right? That's part of the process, is learning what the culture is. The way Chris does things is different from the way you, Alan, do things, right? And there may be slight differences. You may have certain things that you say, I really want this. And he says, yeah, I'm all about that. But then you go, yeah, but I want this. And Chris goes, not that important. So figuring out what that culture is and helping to cultivate that, to understand what is it that the owner or the management team is looking for in terms of their culture. And then the process is another part. That's a separate piece. Okay. But the process is the process. And whether you're selling heating and air or the trusted toolbox or, repairs or plumbing or electrical, there's a process that goes into that. Now, there are things that you have to do as a part of the process that fit your culture.
My guess is you walk in as Coach Chris and that in 5 minutes, the culture here sucks.
Well, you get a really good idea pretty quickly of what that culture is. And to be honest, I know the people that I want to work with and the people that I will work with are different than the people that I won't work with. I've had opportunities to work with people. One of the first things they tell you about starting your own business is don't turn away business.
Yep.
Baloney.
Darn it.
I will tell you that's a bunch of baloney.
That wasn't the B word I used in the beginning.
Right. But that's a bunch of BS. Is that better?
But closer.
Yeah.
But the reality is this: just because somebody wants to work with you doesn't mean you need to work with that person. And that I learned that as a consultant very early on. There were people that wanted to work with me, and I was like, I'm not a good fit for you. And it's not it does become this, it's not you, it's me.
Right.
Because it really is. Because I will not work well in that environment with that culture, with that,
All right.
you know what I'm saying?
We're talking culture. We're talking high level. We need some specifics. Yeah. First of all, when you walked in, you didn't answer the question. I knew after the third time walking in here, Chris's culture was what?
Oh,
Don't worry. I don't have a gun
Sorry.
or a knife. And I'm only on my first beer.
If only people listening could see the looks on the faces. Yeah.
That's right, baby.
No, I think that the culture that you have here is it's evidenced by the training room that you have, the pictures that you have on the wall, the things that you say to people. I overheard a little bit of a meeting that you were finishing up on when I got here, and the things that you were saying were inclusive. They weren't dictatorial. It wasn't, this is how it needs to be done. You're like, well, what do you think about this? How do you think we should handle this? And you're a type of guy, from what I've seen, that likes to get input and doesn't say my way or the highway. Though when the buck stops, it does stop with you. When it really comes down to it, Chris has the final say. And as much as that sucks, you're okay with that. And that's part of the culture that you have, is one of, hey, we're going to learn and we're going to grow and we're just going to continue to grow. Because I've been doing this for how many years, right? 20 plus years. I haven't got it all figured out yet. And I probably won't. I never will. And that's why you surround yourself with smarter people.
When he said surround yourself with smarter people, he meant Coach Chris.
I know. I think so. Actually, he's proving he's very smart. So far, he complimented me in my business. Oh, I love that. Suck up to the host. No.
Did I answer the question?
You did. Well, let's talk about
Accuse
people
me
you
not
don't
doing
want to
that.
work with. This is more important because people talk about this a lot. And I had another friend of mine say, and he does a lot of consulting as well.
Mhm.
You can tell when you walk in a building, is this a party or is this a morgue? When you walk into Google, back in the day when they were all in together, it was a party.
Yeah.
You walk into some places and it was a morgue.
Sure.
And you just knew it. And that phrase alone just speaks volumes for what you see about culture. So talk a minute about what makes a bad culture. What have you seen? You're like, you know what? I'm not willing to work with these people because of this, this, and this.
Well, I think the biggest thing is when you walk in and you realize that the leadership is dictatorial, is heavy-handed, so to speak. And as a result, it's funny. There's this thing called spot it, got it. So Alan keeps on mentioning these things.
Spot it, got it.
Yeah.
Where there's smoke, there's fire.
Yeah. But one of the things that I've learned is when you talk with somebody and you hear the tone in which they talk to people, I had an opportunity years ago to work with somebody, and the way he talked to the person at the front desk, I don't know if she was the secretary, I don't know if she was the office manager, I don't know what she was, but it was a female. And the owner of the company, the way he talked to her, I said, I'll never do business with him.
Wow.
And I walked.
So the way he treated the people in his company was a big telltale. You're like,
absolutely.
Nope. Being a dictator, being a jerk, just no respect for individual.
Correct.
So that's a big one. Yep.
You know, it's interesting. I learned this, buddy of mine, Lance. Thank you, Lance. I learned this years ago. Lance said this to me when I was really getting out of college and going into the working environment. He had said, one thing I've learned about interviewing, and this is true across the board. So it's not just the interview process. It's when you meet people and you're kind of interviewing anytime you meet somebody, right? You're networking, you're interviewing. But he said, whenever I interview, you can always tell the way that they will treat you when you work for them by the way that they treat you in the interview. And I thought, wow, that's some gold right there. If you think about that, because the way that their attitude towards you, do they look at you? Do they respect you? Do they look at your eyes? Do they firm hand grip? You know, I mean, all of these things come into play. It's like all of that was real telltale signs. And so that kind of stuff has gone with me throughout as I go through. And even now when I meet people, it's like, I don't know. I went to work for a guy one time, and I'm a movie fan. The movie It's a Wonderful Life. Here's a great one for you. So remember, George Bailey is desperate. He's feeling the weight of everything. He hasn't lost the $8,000 yet, but he's feeling the weight of everything. He's tired. He wants to get out of the family business. He wants to do all this stuff. What does he do? He goes to Potter. And Potter says, yeah, I want to come. I want you to work for me. You're a smart guy. You got the world, I'll give you, was it $400 a week or something like that, $450 a week. And back then in the early, late 20s, that was a big deal.
Right. Big money.
Huge money. Right. And he said, I'll give you 45 a week or whatever it was, 450, 45. But it was like a big deal. Watch that scene again and watch what happens when he gets up. They're having this conversation. He's like, yeah, I'm going to work with you. He's got the cigar in his hand. He sits up, or he stands up, because if you notice, the chair was so much smaller than the desk.
Right.
Number one. But number two, when he stands up, he shakes Potter's hand. And that was his aha moment. When he looked at his hands and he rubbed his fingers.
I remember that.
And he just shook hands with the devil.
Yeah. He did the deal with the devil, bro.
He did. And
I remember.
He realized
I've seen
that,
a lot.
But I had an experience like that too. And I literally, when I shook the hand of this guy, I went, oh crap, what just happened?
Wow.
Yeah. And it was one of those aha moments where I just went, oh, what did I do? And I worked for these guys for a while.
So people say that's intuition, right? Or that's, you should just be able to read people, the sixth sense. But I mean, again, back to being process focused or coaching or coming in to help people, you got to help them read that stuff, because we all know what a slimy salesman looks like. We call him the used car salesman. And no offense to my uncle, David, who used to be.
Can you imagine trying to be a cool used car salesman with all that baggage?
It's got to be rough.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
how do you overcome that?
You today?
Yeah.
No way.
No.
I mean, that you might as well be a copier salesman right now. Because who's making copies? Hey, do you guys need some copiers? Yeah, no.
Hey, Harry. He didn't mean that.
Sorry, Harry.
I had a door-to-door salesman hit me
By the
this
way,
week.
we still haven't asked one of your questions, buddy.
Oh, yeah. There's 7 of them. We'll get to them, Coach Chris.
Probably not.
I had a door-to-door salesman come, and I'm like, oh, my God. It's a no solicitation neighborhood, blah, blah, blah. My wife will just slam the door in their face. So I usually I'm in sales my whole life.
I want to have some fun.
I want to have some fun. I want to see if they've got.
You want to play with your food?
Yeah, a little bit. But sometimes it's like, hey, I'll take you under my wing. This kid was great. I mean, ultimately the answer was no. But here's the generation we're in. He got in his, I don't know. It's not a Segway. It was just the little thing that he stood on with 2 wheels. And he was, no.
That little hoverboard, not hoverboard.
The 2 wheels on the side. You're standing on it.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Small Business Safari. Don't forget to go out and rate, review, and follow me. And if you like this episode, go out and check out my other episodes, or check out my Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn for other great content. And remember, your positive attitude will help you achieve your higher altitude in the wild world of small business ownership. Until next time, make it a great day, Adventure Team.